Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. I'm not going to hold you all long because I know everybody's trying to get themselves prepared for their holiday celebration, or if you're not celebrating, because some people are not. Some people are actually mourning for today. But my prayers and my heart and my love goes out to you, those of you that may have lost loved ones um, in terms of Memorial Day. So, I told you all I was going to come on here to talk about three mindset shifts that you need to make to create better outcomes. Hey, Janae. Hey, House of Dapier. So I'm going to go over these because it fell on my spirit this morning that this was something that I needed to talk about, and something that I observe fairly often as far as when I'm working with small business owners who are trying to hit their goals, whether that's revenue, whether that's, build subscribers, whatever it is. When they're trying to hit their goals, I feel like these are three mindset shifts that they should pay closer attention to in the journey to their efforts of trying to create those outcomes. So, I'm not going to take very long because, like I said, I know everybody's trying to get to their festivities today, and I don't want to hold you all up from doing that. So, I'm just going to go ahead and dive into it. Really going to go ahead and dive into it. So, the first thing, if you are a business owner, for those of you that are listening to this and not necessarily are a business owner, but you're like, how can I apply this to like my regular, like maybe my 9 to 5 life or my personal goals? It still can apply. So, don't try to be like super tunnel vision with it. It can still apply to that if you just listen to the information and apply it to where you need to. Okay. So the first mindset shift that you have to have is knowing your numbers. So if you are in your business and like I posted this morning, if you are um if you are aiming for anything, you are sure enough going to hit nothing. Like that's understood. So you have to know your numbers. You have to know the goal of what it is that you're shooting for, so you know what you should be looking for in terms of a gratification factor, if you will. Because a lot of us get focused on, how can I measure the result or how can I measure the success of this particular outcome? And for most of us, we don't take the time to realize that the particular outcome may not always equate to dollars. The particular outcome may not always equate to sales, right? The long term goal is that it should. It might happen instantly, but depending on what it is that you're tracking, will depend on what you should be trying to determine your level of your measure of success for that particular thing that you're tracking, right? So knowing your numbers. So knowing your numbers can be, of course, knowing your revenue that you have in your pipeline. So I literally every morning that I get up, I check my bank account, I check my CRM, and I check my pipeline. And I try to see like what's in my pipeline or who's in my pipeline rather, and who I have not made the efforts to make necessary touch points to. And so knowing that I have the amount of cash flow in my pipeline that I have, because I just looked and I have about $75,000 in my pipeline right now. Now, to me, that's low. However, that's good for me just getting back in the groove of me starting to work my business back over these past few months, right? So I have $75,000 worth of potential sales in my pipeline right now. That if I decided to do enough follow up, if I decided to put forth the efforts to try to make attempts to close those sales, I could probably close some of those sales, right? But like I talked about last week, you have to be able to see the money before you can see the money, right? And for those of you that don't have offers that allow you to explore what that looks like, it can be very hard for you to see it. So you become more disciplined, if you will, about the efforts that you are making, more disciplined and more intentional about the efforts that you are making as far as trying to close sales or asking people to purchase from you or putting out the intentional content that's going to help nurture them through the funnel that I spoke about a couple of weeks as a training I did on that. It's going to nurture them through those buying stages that people go through. Okay. I need you all to understand that now people are taking a lot longer of a time for the buying cycle for them to actually spend money with you. It's not just you. Like, this is just happening for consumers across the board. This is why your efforts have to be more intentional. And this is why you should be tracking more of what you're doing. Because if you're not, you'll start to think that your efforts are not adding up. And in some cases, for a lot of you all, they're not adding up because you're not even putting forth the efforts to do anything, right? You don't even know what it is that you should be tracking or should be doing. So knowing your numbers, knowing what's in your pipeline, that's one. Knowing how many sales you need to close in a day. So you should have a daily sales goal for the most part. Most of us do. And you should be working your efforts towards that daily sales goal. So you have your monthly goal, you have what's broken down into weekly. You can have what's broken down into a daily. So you meet that weekly and that monthly goal. Like, it's not rocket science, but we try to make it so much harder than what it is. Like, if you know you want to make $1,000 by the end of this week, then you know what you have to do daily to make that happen, right? So you have more opportunities to create better outcomes once you can know, first of all, know what you're aiming for, because you have to determine your direction to even know what you're aiming for, right? And then after that, thank you, Janae. And then after that, you can determine how you want to approach it. You can determine what's the best fit offer that you have that can help meet that goal. So if the goal is for $1,000, that's typically a low number. You may not have to sell anything that's larger than about, a three-figure price point. Or if you have something that is in your offer suite that's already at a four-figure price point of $1,000, of course, try to make the efforts to sell that, because that would mean that you would only need to sell one. But if you don't, depending on what it is that you're doing, especially for product-based businesses, a lot of us that do product-based businesses don't necessarily have a product that's $1,000 right off. So you have to be able to break up that goal daily to be able to hit that goal for the week, and then come out to whatever your goal is for the month. So if your goal is $4,000 for the month, you know that that's $1,000 a week. That's very much so doable. And the amount of touch points that you have to have, I know we overthink it and we try to we become a little bit overwhelmed about the efforts that we have to put forth, but it's really, really making it so much harder than what we have to make it. Um, the amount of efforts that you have to put in to be able to get sales that equal $1,000 in a week, once you start trying to put forth the effort, you'll start to realize that it's really not that hard. It's really not that difficult. And it's really not something that you probably were doing already. It's just the fact that you weren't tracking your efforts and measuring your outcomes. So of course, like I said, know the numbers in your pipeline so you know what potential you have there. If you don't have anybody in your pipeline, then you know there's something that you need to do. You need to be looking at numbers in terms of how can I start building up my pipeline? Because once whoever's projects or whatever clients that I'm working with, once they graduate or they close, if they don't decide to come back on for another project or service, I need to be knowing who's already in my pipeline that I can reach out to that may have told me like they're not ready right now, but maybe 6 months from now they may be ready, or 3 months from now, or maybe they told me to call them next week. If you're not tracking that, and if you're not considering that as a part of your pipeline as you're looking at your business grow, you will think that you're not making great progress or you don't have anybody that wants your services, but that's not true. It may just mean that they couldn't do it right at the moment that you asked them. But if you track your efforts and measure what's in your pipeline, you'll know when you need to go back and do follow-ups. You'll know what the discussion was, because you can put notes in there and say, like, this is what we discussed. This is what they said they wanted to do in terms of when they wanted to get started. Those types of things. Those things are important. And not only does it help you see the money and see the opportunity in your business, it also gives you a visual aid for motivation for you to say, like, this is really working. It's not that people don't want my product. It's not that people don't want my service. I've gotten the yes. It's just not right now. It's just I need to now do my efforts to make sure that I follow up to maintain touch points with that person. And it doesn't always have to be touch points of asking, like, hey, are you ready? You can genuinely be checking on somebody who may become your potential client one day. That makes a difference in the sale, right? I do that all the time. Um, You can take time to answer their questions if they have questions. Maybe it's a free consultation. Maybe they thought of some things that happened between the time that you all first talked and this particular time that you're following up with them. It's okay for you to give them those couple of extra touch points just to know that you really care about them and they're not just a number, right? So knowing what's in your pipeline, um, and knowing your revenue goals, those are some numbers. When it comes to like in terms of subscribers, in terms of increasing your visibility and reach and stuff like that, those are numbers, of course, that you want to be able to know too. If there's something that goes with the goal of which you are tracking, those are numbers that you should pay attention to because when you're looking at building a community or when you're looking at gaining reach or gaining momentum, you need to know who's paying the most attention to your work. You need to know who's paying the most attention to your content. You need to know the type of people that are engaging with your content. That's why those analytics are back there. And I know it seems kind of silly for the most part when people are talking about how they're trying to get the bonuses and stuff like that. However, that's not getting the bonus is not the goal. I hate to say that, but it's not the goal. The long-term goal is to be able to bring people off of these platforms to be able to build a community with them because people are seeking community. That's what they need. You need to be able to bring them off of these platforms to build a community with them and then have them in your pipeline to where they can spend money with you at each point or each level. Or if your goal is subscribers so you can become um, a paid creator by the platform, then measure that accordingly if that's what your goal is. But again, your content has to be intentional. You have to understand the goal that you're shooting for, and you need to pay attention to your analytics to see what's resonating and what's not resonating, and really spend time building the community because that's what's going to help you grow your subscriber count. That's what's going to help you grow your community. And even with that being the goal, with being a paid creator, your goal still should be to get your community off of these platforms to have an additional touch point with them. Why? Because, hey, Ebony, because you do not own the social real estate of these platforms. So if at any time something happens to where, again, they're looking at starting to charge for these platforms, or like it does for Black Friday around the holidays, the platforms always go down and people start panicking because they don't have an email list, they don't have an offline community for them to build, they don't have access to the people that they know they make sales from. Your goal is to always get them off because you do not own your social media real estate. It is owned by Meta or whoever the platform person is. It's owned by TikTok, it's owned by YouTube. So if you don't have something like that as a backup in your arsenal, it's going to make it hard for you to continue to hit those particular goals should something happen to your social media real estate, because again, we don't have control of it. So it's very important for you to at least have an email list, even if you don't intend on emailing those people right now. Find something to put their email information in and their text message information in. So if something does happen, you have that as a form of emergency to still contact them if you're running a special, if you have some really good content that's going to go out, whatever the case may be. You need to be able to contact them regardless of what's happening to these platforms. But the goal is still, again, to build community because people are searching for community. So you need to figure out how you can start doing that and how you can start navigating them through that, because that's what people are seeking. So those are 3 ways that you can know your numbers. Okay. Number 2 is knowing your people. So going back to what I said, you need to know who's in your pipeline. When you have conversations with people, whether this is in person, at a networking event or at a vendor event or a conference, whatever case may be, or this is online, if you had conversations up under different content threads, or if you had conversations in the DMs, you need to know the people that you are constantly coming in contact with. If you are having constant engagement with somebody who is finding your content interesting from a business perspective, I'm not talking about the people that just may pop up when you post a pretty picture or you're posting like more engagement based posts. I'm talking about people who really find your content interesting. They have expressed interest in what it is that you're doing. They have expressed interest. Hey, Women's Business Center, Miss South. They have expressed interest in what it is that you're doing. So they are making an intentional effort to digest your content. They are making an intentional effort to be a part of your community. That's what they're telling you that they want. They are making an intentional effort to say, like, I really, really enjoy what it is that she gets on this platform and speaks about, and I want to be able to have more of it. If you have nowhere else for them to go, you are missing an opportunity, right? So it's good for you to track your people. Start making a spreadsheet. If you do everything manually, say you're not a techie person and you don't have a system to where you could put all of your people in, no worries. Get an old school spreadsheet and track the people and track the efforts that you are making. So in the spreadsheet, it's really, really simple. All you have to do is treat that spreadsheet like your CRM. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management System, basically. So you can treat that spreadsheet like your CRM. You can list the people there. On the side, you could talk about, you can also have a column for, whatever tags or whatever label you want to put for each person. So if that person is a lead, you could put them as a lead. You could put where you got them from, if they came off Facebook, if they came from in person, if they came off TikTok, YouTube, wherever they came from, you can have that in there. You can also create a column on there um that shows the amount of touch points that you have had with them. So wherever they are in the stage of touch points with you. So you should have a strategy around how many times you have touch points with people. Because again, like I told you all last week in my training, we have went from having 7 to 8 touch points with people to now having to have at least 16 to 20 times of getting in front of one person. This is just one individual for them to understand who you are, what you do, how you do it, and whether or not they would be interested in buying or digesting whatever it is, content it is that you're putting in front of them. They need 16 to 20 times of seeing it now, because people's attention spans are way shorter after everything came back down, right? So you have to make intentional efforts again to get in front of these people, because if it takes 16 to 20 times for a person to actually really know who you are and what you do, that means that the bulk of your content and the bulk of the things that you are speaking on and the bulk of the efforts that you are putting on these platforms needs to be that content that has attracted them to you thus far. Hopefully that makes sense. Um, because those touch points matter. Now, on the back end, what I've been talking about all month is about having a digital strategy. It would really, really be helpful for you if you had a digital strategy that supported you on the back end. Why? Because instead of me telling you that you have to post for each one person 16 to 20 times, I would rather you have some additional touch points on the back end through a digital platform of some sort, whether that's email, or offline community, whatever, that you can get some additional touch points in that are helping you on the back end, so you're not having to spend so much time on social media all day. Like, it all ingrains into a strategy. You have to be very strategic about the approaches, right? But you have to know, again, what your goals are and how to properly measure your efforts based on what those goals are. So knowing your people, and like I said, in that spreadsheet, you can have all of those columns there. You can also have a column that's like a notes column that basically tells about each time you've had a discussion with them, what they have expressed as far as their pain points, what they have shared with you as far as how often they would like for you to check in, whatever the case may be. You can put that in the notes section and you could track that to be able to do what I love to say, follow up Fridays. Every Friday, if I have somebody that I need to follow up with, or if I went to a networking event that week, I sit down on Fridays and I send out my emails. That's another thing. You don't have to just touch point with them on social media. If you have their business card and their business information, it's so heartwarming for people to get phone calls from you, because people don't get phone calls anymore. So don't just make the effort to touch bases with them on social media. Send them an email and give them a phone call. And if you have to leave a voicemail, leave a voicemail. But those are like 3 different touch points all in that one time that you could do for that one person, right? So I love doing that type of stuff on Follow Up Fridays when I've networked for the week, or I've talked to people throughout the week, and I go back and I follow up with them. Like, that's my day to do that. I spend, my Fridays doing that. So You'll be able to document all of that within the spreadsheet. Now, that's also putting you in position to like know the type of people that are paying attention to your content as well too, because as you start having more conversations with people and learning more about the types of businesses or the types of things that they're interested in and that they do, you'll be able to like start to realize the type of industries that you are really attracting as far as a service provider, right? And that's another good thing for you to track as well too. So that's knowing your people. The last thing is knowing your efforts. So again, going back to like I said about the touch points, you need to be able to track your efforts so you can track your progress. Again, that goes to whatever particular goal that you have set. So knowing the direction that you are going in, and then what comes with that direction as far as the measure of success. The measure of success for the long term, we hope, is always going to equal dollars and cents, but it may not be the immediate measure of success. It may not be the instant gratification factor that you need to align with that goes with that particular goal. Again, so you need to know your efforts. So your efforts are going to be, of course, like what I just said, the touch points that you are making, whether or not you are actually posting consistent and intentional content that truly is resonating with your audience. How are you spending your time? If you do have people that you have met offline, are you making intentional efforts to meet back up with them or to circle back and have conversations with them? How many other channels are you using to leverage as platforms to be able to get in front of your ideal audience? So again, I talk about all the time how it's nothing wrong with you leveraging somebody else's audience and building mutually beneficial relationships off of that. So where you can leverage other people's audience and you can get in front of their audience, and now your audience has just, grown more outside of what you already have that you have already personally built. It's okay for you to use other people's platforms. Go do the podcast. Go do the one to many approach. I love one to many approaches. I would rather do workshops and speaking engagements all day and get in front of a one to many crowd that has 50, 100, maybe 1,000 people in the room, because I know by the time I get done, hopefully there's going to be at least somewhere between 1 to 10 people that's going to have heard what I have said because I did an amazing job. And they're going to either be ready to collaborate with me, close a sale with me, or try to leverage me as some sort of a resource to where we can build a mutually beneficial relationship with each other. One of those three, but they should be ready to do one of them, right? So if you have a one to many opportunity, take advantage of that, because that gets you in front of a lot of people for you to basically pitch a lot of people at one time, instead of you having to have one-to-one conversations with everybody, which can lead to be exhausting. But it's what we have to do because we're business owners, right? We all have different goals and different missions that we're on. So you have to be able to know your efforts and put in the work, know your goal and put in the work as far as your efforts. If you know that you are not doing that, that's when you're going to start to have overwhelm. That's when you're going to start to overthink. That's when you're going to start to think that you're a failure. I had a conversation with a young lady the other day. She had to interview somebody that is doing what it is that she wants to do, which she wants to be a coach. And so in our conversation, I can't remember what we were talking about, but I think I had on workout clothes, and she was saying that she needed to get back in the gym. And so in our conversation, I just expressed to her, like, I've only been back in the gym. This will be the 7th week now, but it feels good because prior to that, for some reason, I was having these little moments where I was kind of spiraling, like stepping on the scale and stuff every day. And I was like, what's happening? But the only reason that I was having those panic moments, quote unquote, was because I knew that I wasn't intentionally working on anything that was helping with my weight. So what I started to see on the scale was starting to bother me because I knew I wasn't doing anything about it. People who know they have problems and are working towards intentionally solving those problems, they do not let their problems stress them out. Why? Because they're intentionally moving the needle to solving the problem. So if you know that you are intentionally moving the needle to solving the problem, you will realize that you're really not stressed out about problems that you may have that you know are there, but they're not bothering you because you know you're moving the needle to try to solve them. People who are actively doing that are not stressed out about what they have going on. I haven't gotten on the scale in 7 weeks. I haven't gotten on the scale in 7 weeks, but also realizing that the number on the scale is really not the goal anyway, because I could weigh 200 pounds and not look like it, right? But that's not how much I weigh. But um thinking about again those other measures of success when in terms of weight loss, what else we should be measuring. So other measures of success in terms of weight loss may not necessarily just be measures on the scale. It may be that I lost some inches, right, which is honestly better than what the number is on the scale. It may be that I can get in a pair of jeans or a dress or something like that that I couldn't get in before. This is why knowing your success measures for what it is that you do, because there's various success measures for each goal that you decide to set. But if you are only open to one of the success measures and you think that that's the only one that really matters and that you should be paying attention to, then yes, it is going to make it hard for you to figure out whether or not you're failing or you're doing very well, because that's the only success measure that you see. So I welcome you to change your thought process around how you are approaching your direction of your goals, and the mindset shifts that I just discussed. So again, number one was knowing your numbers. I talked about 3 ways that you can know your numbers. So if you need to watch the replay, you can go back and watch it. It'll be posted in a minute. Number two, knowing your people, and number three, knowing your efforts. This will lead you to not being as frustrated, because I see so many frustrated business owners on my timeline, and just people in general as far as like their personal goals. When you are making intentional efforts towards what it is that you know you need to, it typically will not frustrate you because you know you are attempting to solve the problem. So um I have 2 things for you. So if you are somebody that's trying to figure out how to amplify their efforts to grow their business and create more cash flow in their business, if you are here in the Memphis area, I am hosting a digital transformation workshop that will help you understand how to couple your how couple a digital transformation strategy to grow your business with your tactical strategy and marry them together. So it's only 15 slots for that particular workshop that I'm doing here in the Memphis area. The tickets are $197. You will get lunch. I will feed you. You will walk out of their workshop having completed a customized digital strategy for your particular business. You will have an email sequence built out. You will have your first lead magnet built out. You will have your first digital product built out. We are going to strategize, put that all together to help create a digital strategy for you that couples with your social media strategy and all of the other strategies that you may be attempting to have for your business as far as getting in multiple channels and supercharging business growth. Okay. That's the workshop. It's on June 15th, 2024 from 9 a.m. to 2. So the link is in the description if you want to purchase your ticket. You can get your ticket there, and the location is disclosed upon ticket purchase. Okay. If that's not a great fit for you and you're like, Tanika, I'm ready to dive in, I need some coaching assistance with this, you're welcome to put in your application for the Elevate Your Mastery coaching program. We are accepting applications. You can also do that at the link in the description or in my bio as well too. You can ask me any questions that you may have about either one of them. My DMs are open. If you have questions about what I discussed here on the live today, this is probably going to be one of the shortest lives I ever did. If you have questions about what I discussed here on the live today, my DMs are open as well too, as to how this applies to you and your business and what your efforts should be as far as what your goals are, right? This is why it's important to have vision and direction, because like I said, if you are aiming for anything, you are sure enough going to hit nothing. And a lot of us are aiming for anything and settling for something when we know it's not what we actually want or what we actually would love to see. So don't let that be you. This is your opportunity to get the help that you need. So again, if you have any questions, my DMs are open. For those of you that are celebrating Memorial Day, happy Memorial Day to you. For those of you that are grieving today for Memorial Day, I send my prayers and love to you. And I hope that you are able to get through this day with a lot of grace. Hey Eve, you came right on the end, girl. I'm finna get ready to hop off, but make sure you watch the replay because it's going to get ready to be posted. So I will see you all on Wednesday for Winning Wisdom Wednesday. This has been Mogul Mindset Monday. Hopefully these 3 mindset shifts are easy for you to make in terms of your business or your personal life. Give me some feedback as to what you all thought about this, and let me know what you would like to see coming up live. So enjoy you all's day. See you all on Wednesday.